In today's video, we are going to see how to make a song like Sabrina Carpenter, and it's gonna sound like this.
I just got a glimpse of your new boy. Does he know that you've wrapped around my finger?
What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very special video lined up for you. In today's video, we are going to see how to make a song like Sabrina Carpenter. I love the recent album and the music producers on it have done a tremendous job. The songs that we are going to be taking as reference for today's tracks will be Espresso, Taste and Please Please Please. I'm going to take you along my process right from the start and we'll take a look at how to set up guitar tones, synths and drum programming. But before we get into it, I just want to tell you that I'm a music producer and I do this full time. So if you vibe with any of the music that you see on my channel and you are looking for a music producer to help you with your music, I would love to jump on board and take your projects to the next level. You'll find a quick link in the description below that you can fill and I can get in touch with you. So without further ado, let's get straight into the project. And this is what we are starting with today. I just quickly went ahead and recorded this riff. And we have repeated it. This will act as a nice little intro section and it will continue on to the verse. To accompany this riff, we have two more layers of guitar that sound like this. They're just playing simple chords. Let's take a look at the guitar tones. For the guitar riff, I'm using guitar rig and I'm on the Hotplex amplifier and I'm following it up with some spring reverb. Nothing too fancy, I've just touched the bass, treble and mid settings according to my taste. I've taken down the presence quite a bit. Now for both these accompanying layers, I'm using the same tone. For that, I'm using the Chicago preamp. This is what they sound like on their own. And the second one. And everything together. For the processing, I'm not doing too much. I'm EQing it a bit and following it up with a compressor to control the dynamics. Now for the most part of this track, I will be following the arrangement pattern from her song Taste, which sounds amazing by the way. So the next thing that I'm going to add is a hi-hat. I'm doing drums a little different today. Instead of drawing MIDI notes, I'm going to play around with samples. I've just added a hi-hat sample on every other beat and it sounds like this. So as per the arrangement of Taste, there is no intro section and they directly jumped straight into the verse. That is what we're going to do. So these 8 bars will be our verse and then we can go ahead to the pre-chorus. The next thing that I'm going to add in the verse is a bass guitar. For the bass guitar, I'm using Modo Bass by IK Multimedia. I love this plugin. They have quite a lot of different presets and sounds that you can choose from. I'm on the 70s P bass and I'm not changing anything in the settings here. Instead, I'm adding an R bass plugin by Waves. This little plugin is a beautiful piece of software and it's basically a bass enhancer plugin. You can actually choose the frequency that you would like to enhance and the intensity as well. After the R-Bass plugin, I'm adding an OTT, which is a very weird choice, but it's worked for me. I'm taking down all the highs from this plugin and I'm adding some upward compression up to about 167%. That will be all for the first verse. We'll keep it very simple and directly from the 9th bar, we'll move on to the pre-chorus. Now for the pre-chorus, I wanted to change the chords a bit and this is what I came up with. For this section, I've taken down the riff that was playing in the verse and we are only dealing with the chords here. The next layer I want to add is a kick. It would also be cool to add in some synth pads and stuff like that. Let's do that. For the first layer, I'm using the Xenology plugin by Roland. and I am on the 80s Brass 6 preset. It sounds like this. Now in the processing chain of this, I'm using K7D by Imaginado. This is actually the first time that I'm using it on any project, and it is an analog tape delay plugin. I'm on the Crying Synth patch. It sounds like this. Apart from adding delay, it's also giving amazing saturation with the help of this preamp. Next, I'm EQing it. I'm doing a bandpass to cut down the highs and the lows. Next on the chain, I'm adding this delay plugin by Integra Audio, and they've got some amazing presets for your sound design, and I'm using the Bright Hall preset here. Now I want to mention that while creating this sound, there was no specific goal in mind. This was just one of those sounds that you just randomly stumble upon while doing sound design, and in no particular order I have added these plugins, which has ultimately led to this sound being created. And just while experimenting, I added these plugins in and I ended up creating this sound. I am layering this sound up with an electric piano from Logic. Now our verse and pre-chorus are in a good place. Let's move on to building the chorus. For the chorus, I wanted to change the chord progression completely, and this is what I came up with. The sound that I'm using for this is from Xenology by Roland, and I'm on the AX Soft Synth Brass preset. It sounds amazing and it sounds nostalgic. It sounds like one of those analog synth sounds from keyboards like Juno, and you'll find this a common theme across all the new songs in an album. Let's layer it up with some more synth sounds. And the second one. A very short decay kind of a sound. For the first layer, I'm using Serum, and this is the preset. And for the second layer, I'm again using Xenology. Recently, it's been my go-to for all the synth sounds. Let's add some electric guitars on top of this. This is what I added. It's a simple layer playing chords on an offbeat pattern. With the synths. It gives the whole melodic section a nice little groove, and this is the next layer that I came up with. Both the guitar layers together. Let's take a look at the drums next. I found these two snare samples which sound like this. And the second one. Now both these samples are very different individually, but when you layer them up together, they sound beautiful. It's like a nice fatty wooden kind of a snare. The drums together. I also added some claps. They sit nicely behind the snares and give them even more fatness. Now let's talk about the processing. On the first snare, I'm not doing any processing at all. This is an amazing sound as it is. But on the second snare, this is what it sounded like without processing. It is a very loose kind of a sound. So I added an EQ to take out that boominess and add in some fatness. Then I added a transient shaper. It's just adding a little bit of attack and sustain to it. And I'm finally adding a Valhalla Vintage Verb on 10.5% mix. DK is same, rest all the settings are same. I've just brought up the low cut to about 340 Hz. With the clap. On the clap, I'm using an OTT. I've brought down the upward compression and taken down the downward compression. I've also boosted some highs with the hi-hat and the kick. Now I also went ahead and added some hi-hat and top loops, which sound like this. A nice little acoustic hi-hat rhythm. I specifically wanted that open hi-hat sound at the end of a bar. I also found this percussion loop. Which sounds very off genre on its own, but with the rest of the instruments it sounds beautiful and it fits nicely. With our percussions down, here's what our chorus looks like. Now here's one more thing that I added to act as a good transition element between the pre-chorus and the chorus, which is this bass slide. I chopped this sample up, added an R bass. Let's hear this transition once. It sounds so good. Now if you notice closely, my drum sounds do not sound similar to Taste. Instead, they sound similar to Espresso, and that is exactly what I did. I tried blending in the sounds of two different songs together. But since we are following the arrangement pattern of Taste, right after the chorus, a good 8-bar chorus, we hear a small lead guitar section. So I've just went ahead and copied this whole pattern. I wanted the same chord progression and the drums, and I played in this bad boy, which sounds like this. For the tone, I'm again using guitar rig. I'm using the Hotplex amplifier. I've taken down the bass quite a bit, boosted some mids and treble. I added a matched cabinet on 80% cabinet and 20% room. A spring reverb on about 34% of mix. Another match cabinet, this is twang reverb. An EQ unit to give me that low cut or high pass, however you call it. I'm at 134 Hz. I didn't change anything, I didn't touch anything else. A delay unit called Delay Man, and I am on the chorus. Depth is 62.1% and mix is about 65%. I've also taken down the time to about 243 milliseconds. And finally, this beautiful unit called ROM Airy Reverb. It sounds wonderful. I'm on 41.5% mix and 100% of reverb. I've also taken down the decay. Let's take a listen to it without the reverb and the delay. The delay and reverb is what gives it that shine. With the rest of the instrumental. Keeping it very simple for just about 4 bars. And I've also rearranged these samples to create a drum fill. Another cool thing that I added here is this synth transition effects. The way I created this is I took this sound, trimmed this MIDI clip, copied this up into a new layer, and in the delay plugin I automated this time parameter. This is the automation, and you can take a look at the delay plugin. Now to exaggerate this transition even more, I added an OTT. without it. Now that we are done with the chorus and the post-chorus section, let's move on to creating the second verse. Now for this verse, I copied the same drum pattern from the chorus. And we are not adding the intro riff from the first verse. Instead, we'll just play around with the drums and the bass. This is what it sounds like. Our bass is following the same chord progression as the previous guitars, but with a more bouncy kind of a bass line. And I've copied this muted guitar pattern from the chorus. Nothing's changed, it's the same. The way we come into this verse is a little different. We take a breather for about 2 bars and then jump straight in. This is what it sounds like. Just a couple of kick hits and then back into the groove. Let's take a look at this second pre-chorus. There are a couple of new things that I added. One of them is this rhythmic pad. With the rest of the instruments, it sounds like. The next new layer that you hear is this electric guitar counter melody. For this rhythmic pad, I'm using Serum. And the next new layer that you hear is this electric guitar counter melody. I'm using Guitar Rig for this, and I'm on the Creamy Snowflakes preset. Now let's take a look at the second pre-chorus. I added the same hi-hat loop from the chorus to give the drums some progression. Now similar to the previous pre-chorus, I'm copying the same synth pad and electric piano layer into the second pre-chorus with a newly added guitar. I also added this synthesized sounding guitar rhythm. For the tone of this, I am again using Guitar Rig, and I am on the Deep Gates preset. It sounds like this. But as you can hear, the movement is not clear. I wanted something very precise, so I added movement by output on the plucking around pattern. You see, this is a more precise movement compared to before. Now, and I am adding an EQ to do some cleaning. A very exaggerated low cut and some boosting in the 3K range. With everything else, the next obvious thing is to bring in the pre-chorus again. So I copied the whole chorus section. Let's take a look at what is new here. This new layer of synth chords. It weirdly sounds like a war siren or something, and it is the same preset from the pre-chorus, just the different chords. But there are quite a lot of new additions in the guitar section. Let's take a listen one by one. This is the first layer. In my head, I wanted an electric guitar layer to give me a distorted kind of a feel in the chorus without being too distorted. And for this layer, I chose to play the undertone of the chorus chords, which go very well together. Let me bump it up a little bit so that it's easier for you to hear. The next two layers that I added are some chord layers. For the guitar tone, same guitar rig 6, and I'm on the lead 800 amp, some spring reverb, some treble booster, some fuzz, and then finally some reverb on 44.5% mix and 22.5% reverb. And this is what the second layer sounds like. Please excuse my inconsistent playing. For the tone, I'm using the matched box preset from Guitar Rig and some EQ for cleanup. With the rest of the guitars, that is all for the chorus. Now let's move on to the bridge. So similar to Taste, where the whole production gets tamed down quite a bit for just the vocals and the electric guitars to shine in the bridge, I've done something similar, but I've tried to add my own little taste to it. Instead of playing some simple guitar chords, I tried playing it in a funky rhythm. I'm again on Guitar Rig 6 and I'm using the Coolplex amp with a match cabinet and some spring reverb and some EQ to boost up the highs. Now for the choice of drums, I only wanted the kick in the first half and then a snare coming in the second half. I layered this guitar up with a drone synth, which sounds like this. A very simple single note drone sound. I am using S1 Imager by Waves for some stereo width. And I'm automating it. I'm slowly opening up the width in the plugin. I've added in these cool little percussion loops in the bridge. Let's take a look at them one by one. This is a sample that I found on Splice. To it, I added a bandpass EQ cutting down the lows and the highs, followed by OTT and movement. It gives it a nice little auto pan effect and this second percussion loop. Which is also a sample of a splice. I've not done anything to it, both of them together. So this is what a bridge sounds like now. Next we come in with a final chorus. We'll copy the whole section up and paste it here. Now that our previous chorus was already sounding beefy, let's add in some more elements to get it even more stronger. I have added this guitar stabs layer. Playing the same chord and I'm using Guitar Rig for the tone. I'm on the Citrus amp I also added a pluck melody which sounds like this. And that is it for the final chorus. I've not done a lot of additions. Let's take a listen. Now, do you remember the lead guitar that we played after the first chorus? Let's bring it up back here. So we'll play it as the final post-chorus section for the song. And finally, let's take a look at some Earcandy, some transition effects and all that kind of stuff before we move on to the vocals. The first thing, between the first verse and the pre-chorus, I added this reverse vocal riser. I've simply added some Valhalla vintage verb on top of it. Next is this clap snare sound which comes on offbeat at the end of every 2 bars. I've added a reverse synthesizer between the chorus and the verse. I'm doing a band pass, and I've also added a tremolo plugin. This is probably my favorite section, right where we added the drum fill between the second verse and the pre-chorus. I've added a few elements. Let's take a listen. Let's break it down one by one. There's a drum fill, just a 2-note drum fill. There are these 2 vocal effects that come in with the drum fill, a clap effects, and I'm adding a ton of reverb at 30.7% mix and 11.59 seconds of decay. And finally, I found this harp sample which sounds like this. And all I'm doing is some low cut and a high boost with everything. And towards the end of our bridge, there are these 2 elements. I found both of these on Splice, the first one and the second one. Both of them have reverb on them, and the first one has some high boosted and Valhalla vintage verb on 67% mix and 4 seconds of decay, which is the default setting. And the second one, which is this one, a high shimmery sound, has Valhalla shimmer on it at 0.18% mix. That's all for the Earcandy. Let's move on to the vocals quickly. So if you look at the arrangement of the vocals, we start off with a single layered vocal for the verse and the pre-chorus. In the chorus, in the first chorus, we come in with a DT, which is the double track left and right layers of the same lead. And there's a harmony in the second verse, again the DT in the second chorus. And finally, in the bridge section, you'll find a DT and a couple of harmonies. And then finally, in the chorus, we have a DT and a harmony layers. Let's take a look at them one by one. I'll also go over the processing in detail.
You throw me under the bus every time you tell a story that wasn't bad enough. You had to make me the villain, really. I swear.
So for the processing, I like to usually group my lead tracks together, and same for my DTs and harmonies, and do bus processing instead of single track processing. This is what it sounds without anything.
You throw me under the bus every time you tell a story.
Added an EQ.
You throw me under the bus every time you tell a story.
To take out some resonances and do a little bit of cleanup, a FAT style compressor, which is our Waves CLA76.
You throw me under the bus every time you tell a story.
I am on slow release and slow attack, some RVOX for compression.
You throw me under the bus.
I like to do serial compression on my vocals with different styles of compressors. So I'm using an FAT style compressor followed by a transparent compressor. Another EQ for more cleanup, a multiband compressor to tame down these frequencies around 1.8K and 3.9K, and a DSR. And I am doing tuning on individual tracks. Next is a DT, which comes in on the choruses. Let's take a listen with the vocal.
Funny, I just got a glimpse of your new boy. Does he know that you've wrapped around my finger? I just got a glimpse of your new boy. Does he know that you've wrapped around my finger?
Remember that we only have tuning on the individual tracks and we are doing processing on the bus. First we start off with an EQ to cut down the lows.
I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
I've noticed along the years that my voice sounds nasally, so I try to take it out.
I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
Next we have a compressor.
I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
We are on medium to fast attack and slow release and about 1 dB of makeup. Followed by this tube compressor by UAD. So I recorded these takes pretty hot, so you'll find the meters going at around -7 to -5 dB of gain.
I just got a
And I'm adding fresh air by Slate Digital
I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
for that extra bite, and a DSR with the lead vocal.
I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
I've hard panned these left and right. Next we have these double tracked harmonies coming in the second verse.
While I was left to pick up the pieces.
For the processing we have UAD LA2A followed by an EQ
You do it all.
for some cleanup and resonances, followed by this DSR, and finally one more EQ. We are boosting about 10 dB, which is quite a lot, around 10.5K. And then we have two more layers coming in the bridge section, which is a DT, a double tracked left and right, and a harmony. Let's take a listen one by one.
Ain't hard to be a human to love somebody good, but I bet you're just stupid and you still think you're cool.
Let's take a listen without any effects.
Ain't hard to be a human to love somebody good.
Pretty standard stuff. Some cleanup with an EQ, some compression,
Ain't hard to be.
some fresh air, and finally a D.
Ain't hard to be a human to love somebody good.
These are very similar processing chains. And finally these harmony layers.
Ain't hard to be a human to love somebody good, but I bet you're just stupid and you still think you're cool.
We start off with LA2A,
Ain't hard to be a human to.
some EQ,
Ain't hard to be a human to love somebody
and a DSR.
good.
You see how we are not trying to change up our plugin selection a lot. It's because I love using a handful of plugins that work for me. And with the rest of the vocal, this is how the bridge section sounds.
Ain't hard to be a human to love somebody good, but I bet you're just stupid and you still think you're cool.
Now for the final chorus, I've done one addition. Let's take a listen.
And you still think you're cool. I just got a glimpse of your new boy. Does he know that you've wrapped around my finger? What a way for you to feel that, boy. At least I'm not the one to sleep around with strangers.
So this is a layer where I'm singing in the higher octave. I'm also singing in the lower register, but half of it is in the falsetto range. I'm adding some tuning with Waves Tune Real Time, some EQ, followed by a 76 compressor.
I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
UAD LA.
I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
Just touching the peaks, Q3 and some more EQ. I also want to go over the sends real quick. The first one is Valhalla Vintage Verb, and I am sending about minus 14.8 dB of signal. I'm on 100% mix, 3.75 seconds of decay, and I have brought up the low cut to about 210 to 20 Hz. I forgot to go over the sends for the lead vocals. Let's take a look at it. I'm using Valhalla Vintage Verb as my main reverb. I'm on 100% mix, 3.75 seconds of decay, and I've brought up the low cut to about 210 to 220 Hz. The next one is my plate reverb, which is Valhalla Plate. I'm on 100% mix, the same as before. Decay is 2.1 seconds, and I've not touched anything else. The third one is Repeater. This is a vintage model delay. I'm on the double S preset. And finally, my last delay, which is Edge Delay by Waves. I'm on the basic slap delay preset, and this is what my lead vocals sound like.
You still think you're cool? I just got a glimpse of your new boy. Does he know that you've wrapped around my finger?
Without the reverbs and delay.
Still think you're cool? I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
With
Still think you're cool? I just got a glimpse of your new boy.
I've intentionally kept the DTs and the harmonies dry because I wanted them to cut through the mix, and the vocals and the high vocals wet. And I think we are done. Let's take a final listen to the whole track.
You throw me under the bus every time you tell a story that wasn't bad enough. You had to make me the villain, really. I swear I'm running far away, no looking back, but then I saw something funny. I just got a glimpse of your new boy. Does he know that you've wrapped around my finger? What a way for you to feel that, boy. At least I'm not the one to sleep around with strangers. You played the victim so well, while I was left to pick up the pieces. You do it all again. It's hard to be a human, I guess. I swear I'm running far away, no looking back, but then I saw something funny. I just got a glimpse of your new boy. Does he know that you've wrapped around my finger? What a way for you to feel that, boy. At least I'm not the one to sleep around with strangers. Ain't hard to be a human, to love somebody good, but I bet you're just stupid and you still think you're cool. Ain't hard to be a human, to love somebody good, but I bet you're just stupid and you still think you're cool. I just got a glimpse of your new boy. Does he know that you've wrapped around my finger? What a way for you to feel that, boy. At least I'm not the one to sleep around with strangers.
And with that, we have reached the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried to go as in detail as possible. Before signing off, I just want to remind you that I am a music producer and I do this full time. So if you are looking for someone to help you with your music, I would love to jump on board and help you out. You'll find a quick form in the description below that you can fill, and I would love to get in touch with you. And yeah, let me know what other artists you would like me to cover in the upcoming videos. I'll see you very soon in the next video. Peace.